Good morning, students. Today's topic is communism. Communism is a philosophical, social, political, and economic ideology and movement whose ultimate goal is the establishment of a communist society, namely a socio-economic order structured upon the ideas of common ownership of the means of production and the absence of social classes, money, and in some cases, the state as such. Communism is a specific form of socialism. In this topic, objectives are: first of all, the goal of communism is a classless, stateless, and moneyless society where everyone is equal and everyone gets what they need and contribute according to their ability. Communism is to encourage an incentive system no longer directed toward the shallow and self. Communism has been successful in the eye of working class and poor people, not in the eyes of the rich. Entertained goal of wealth, property, and power. This is the objective of this topic. And communism is a political and economic ideology that positions itself in opposition to liberal democracy and capitalism, advocating instead for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally and private property is non-existent or severely curtailed. curtailed. And next, the communism includes a variety of schools of thought which broadly include Marx, Marxism and anarcho-communism, as well as the political ideologies grouped around both, all of which share the analysis that the current order of society stems from capitalism, its economic system and mode of production. Namely, that in this system there are two major social classes. The relationship between these two classes is exploitative, and that this situation can only ultimately be resolved through a social revolution. The two classes are the proletariat, the working class, who make up the majority of the population within society and must work to survive, and the bourgeois, the capitalist class, a small minority who derives profit from employing the working class through private over ownership of the means of production. According to this analysis, revolution would put the working class in power and in turn establish social ownership of the means of production, which is the primary element in the transformation of society towards communism. And this communism is an economic system where the group owns a factor of production. In countries, the government represents the group. The means of the factors of production are labor and enter, entrepreneurship, capital goods, and natural resources. Although the government does not legally own the labor force, the central planners tell the people where they should work. German philosopher Karl Marx developed the theory of communism. And communism is a socio-economic political movement. Its goal is to set up a version of society where the factories and farms are shared by the people and would not have rulers or money. This type of communism is there. And next is he said it was from each according to his ability to each according to his need. In this view, capitalist owners would no longer siphon off all the profits. Instead, the proceeds would go to the workers, to Marx. This means that people would work at what they loved and did well. They would happily contribute these skills for the good of all. The economy would prosper because they would work harder than in capitalism. And next to each according to his need, mean the community would take care of those who could not work. It would distribute goods and services to everyone as they required them. Those who were able to work would be motivated by a latent self interest. And this pictures this the theory of communism. Theory of communism is the group owns factors of production, labor, natural resources, capital goods, entrepreneurship. Government represents group. Government does not legally own labor force. Government act as central planner, determining where people work. This is the theory of communism. And communist theory in the Communist Manifesto, Marx and co-author Friedrich Engels outlined the following points. The abolition of property in land and application of all rents of land to public purpose. A heavy progressive and graduated income income tax, abolition of all right of inheritance, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels, and equal liability of all to labor and establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. And next, the gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country, free education for all children in public schools, and abolition of children's factory labors. And next is centralization of create credit in the hands of the state. And next, centralization of credit in the hand of the state. The state would control communication and transportation. And next is the state factories and instruments of production would cultivate wastelands and improve the soil. And next is the manifesto mentioned state ownership in its last 3 points, which makes even this pure vision of communism sound like socialism. But Marx argued that state ownership is a valid stage in the transition to communism. In the communist theory, the Communist Manifesto, according to the communist writers and thinkers, the goal of communism is to create a society without a government or a system of classes, and to end capitalism. Communist thinkers believe this can happen if the people take away the power of bourgeois and establish worker control of the means of production, factories and farms. Communism is not anti-individualist, individual. However, it does also say that discrimination should be good for the population as a whole instead of just being good for only a few of people in the country. And next is the leaders create a plan that outlines their choices and it's execute with laws, regulations, and directive. The goal of the plan is to give to each according to his need. Communist countries have free health care, education, and other services. The plan also seeks to increase the nation's economic growth, secure economic growth, secure national defenses, and many maintain infrastructures. The state owns businesses on behalf of the workers, which in effect means the government owns a monopoly. The government rewards company managers for meeting the targets detailed in the plan. In communism, central planners replace the forces of competitions and the laws of supply and demand that operate in a market economy, as well as the customs that guide a traditional economy. And the next is advantages of this topic, communism. Communism has a centrally planned economy. It can quickly mobilize economy resources on a large scale, execute massive projects, and create industrial power. It can move so effectively because it overrides individual self interest and subjugates the welfare of the general population to achieve critical social goals. And next, the disadvantages, the most significant disadvantage of communism stemmed from its elimination of the free market, the laws of supply and demand don't set prices. The government does. Planners lose the valuable feedback these prices provide about what the people want. They cannot get up to date information about consumers' needs, and as a result, there is often a surplus of one thing and shortage of others. And next, the benefits of communism. Theoretically, there are many benefits that can be achieved through a communist society. Communist ideology supports widespread universal social welfare, improvements in public health and education, provision of child care, provision of state directed social services, and provision of social benefits will theoretically help to rise labor productivity and advance a society in its development. The communist ideology advocates universal education with a focus on developing the proletariat with knowledge and class conciseness and historical understanding. Communism supports the emancipation of women and the ending of their exploitation. Both cultural and educational policy in communist state have the benefits of communism are the emphasized the development of a new man, a class concise, knowledgeable, heroic, potential proletarian person devoted to work and social conscience, as opposed to the antithetic bourgeois individualist associated with cultural backwardness and social affirmation. Other theoretical beneficial ideas in the communist social society are include in these characteristics of communist societies. First of all, people are equal. In a communist regime, people are treated equally in the eye of the government, regardless of education, financial standing, etc. And economic boundaries don't separate or categorize people, which can help mitigate crime and violence. And next is every citizen can keep a job in a communist system. People are entitled to jobs because the government owns all means of production. The government can provide jobs for at least a majority of the people. And everyone is a communist country is given enough work, opportunities to live and survive. Every citizen, however, must do his or her part for the economy to receive pay and other work benefits. And the third one is there is an internally stable economic system. In communism, the government dictates economic structure. Therefore, economic instability is out of the question because every citizen is required to work in order to receive benefits. And those who don't have corresponding sanctions, this creates an incentive to participate and encourage economic growth. And the next is strong social communities are stabilized, established in communism, and there are certain laws and goals which determine resource and responsibility allocation. If the citizens abide by these laws, this leads to a harmonious spread of sharing one goal. Consequently, this builds stronger social communities and an even stronger economy. And next, competition does not exist. In communist societies, everyone can work harmoniously without stepping on each other's toes. Work responsibility and rewards are shared e- equally among the citizens. And if the people who have no sense of envy, envy, jealously, or ambitions that counter the goals of the state, then a harmonious economic development can be maintained. And the last characteristics is efficient distribution of resources. In a communist society, the sense of cooperation allows for efficiency in resource distribution. This is very important, especially in times of need and in emergency situations. The emergency situations. This is the efficient distribution of resources. And next question is, why did communism fail? The first is in an absence of incentives among citizens to produce for profit. The profit incentive leads to competitions and innovation in society. But an ideal citizen in a communist society was selflessly devoted to societal causes and rarely stopped to think about his or her welfare. At all time and all questions party members should give first consideration to the interest of the party as a whole and put them in the foremost and place personal matters and interests second, wrote Liu Sake, the second chair of the People's Republic of China. In the second reason of the communism is failure is for communism was the system's inherent inefficient such as centralized planning. This form of planning requires aggregation and synthesis of enormous amounts of data at a granular level because all projects were planned centrally. This form of planning was also complex. In several instances, growth data was fused or error prone in order to make facts fit into planned statistics and create an illusion of progress. The concentration of power into the hand of select view select few also bred inefficiently inefficiency and paradoxically enough provide them with incentives to game the system for their benefits and retain their hold on power. Corruption and liceness become endemic features of this system and survivalness as the such as the one and characterized East German and Soviet societies was common. It also dis- decentralized industrious and hard-working people, and that the end result was that the economy suffered. This is the end of the topic. This topic is important for all reason. At the end of the topic, some references is there. These are the references you also use in all important matter in these references. You carry on. At the end of this topic, some multiple questions is there. First question is, NATO is the information of communist country, non-communist countries, natural countries, developed countries. The answer is this question is non-communist country. The non-communist country is the NATO is the formation. And the next question, which one among the following is not related to globalization? Communication, knowledge, media and entertainment, and communism. The answer of this topic is communism. And next question is Communist Manifesto was authored by Stalin, Karl Marx, Lasky, George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw. The right answer. What is the right answer? The Communist Manifesto was authored by Karl Marx. Karl Marx is the right answer. And next question is according to Karl Marx, societies have all long been divided between the rich and the poor, the educated and the elite, the religious and the educated people, and the rich and the religious people. What is the answer? Answer is the rich and the poor. Next question is who helped Karl Marx write the Communist Manifesto? Friedrich Engels, Jean Jacques Ross, Moscow Montesquieu, Adam Smith. The answer is Friedrich Engels, who's the also the friend of Karl Marx, which helped Karl Marx write the Communist Manifesto. And next question is each of the following are tenets of the communist ex- except allies fair economic policy, governmental control over the economy, redistribution of wealth from rich to poor, and rise of the proletariat. The answer is laissez fair's economic policy is the right answer. And next question is Smith's book Wealth of Nations supported the idea of a free market economy, retaining of the entrepreneurial spirit, and Next is communists take over the farming, state controlled industry. This what is the answer? Answer is free market economy. Free market economy support the idea of. Next question, Karl Marx wrote two books, Das Kapital and The Wealth of Nations, The Spirit of Laws, and The Communist Manifesto, and The Social Contrast. Answer is this question is Communist Manifesto. And next question is described by Friedrich Engels, redistributes wealth used by the Soviet Union, monorealism, communism, mercantilism, and capitalism. What is the right answer? Right answer is the communism. Communism is the right answer. And the last question is creates an unequal distribution of wealth and increases the standard of living for the middle class, described in the Wealth of Nations, and traditionally used in the United States. What is the answer of this question? The answer of this question is communism. Communism is the answer of this question. At the end of this topic, all about the topic is and the end. Thank you.